I'm waiting here. Sing for me sweet lullabies. Bright nights of everlasting darksome days. Bright nights and wearing the stain you made of me. And I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait for the bright nights to lead my way through the maze.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are doing tonight. Rainy, cold. Well, it's not really cold, not like it was a couple weeks ago, but it's wet. It's wet, it's rainy, it's nasty, and I am in a particular mood tonight. I might just be throwing heat seekers at everybody tonight. I'll break that down here as the show progresses. Got a lot on my mind. Have had a lot on my mind for the last 2 weeks, and I need to share it with you. And I want you guys' opinions on this stuff too here. So feel free to go ahead and enter your comments, questions, suggestions, insults. I don't care. Put that all up in the chat room. And then, of course, if you got a topic you want to talk about, make sure you slide it in the DM over here. And we can either have you come on, talk about it, or I'll just keep the monologue to myself. Either way, it's all good. But let me let you guys know what I've been doing here for the past couple of weeks. It's actually been a very, very, very busy couple weeks. Work wise, it's been kind of off chain. I've been making a couple of contacts with some people, just trying to get some interviews set up. As a matter of fact, this Thursday night, I want to say it's 7 or 8. I have to look at my calendar on that. But I'm going to be talking to Purnima Nath. She is running for the 4th congressional district for Congress there. She'll be going, in the Republican primary, and the winner of that primary goes head to head with Congresswoman Gwen Moore. So I'll be looking forward to talking to her and a few other people I have up on deck. But I gotta tell you guys a couple of things. First and foremost, I went to the Trump rally that was in Green Bay about 2 weeks ago. And before I say anything about the Trump rally, let me talk about after the rally. It was snowing. It was horrible. Visibility absolutely sucked. And I got to give credit to the people that were out on the roads. It was none of us should have probably been on the road. Like, for real, as a matter of safety, we should have been smart enough to get a hotel, to crash at somebody's pad, to do something other than be on the road. But yeah, sometimes I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Be the first to admit this. Nobody was going above 35 miles an hour, and everybody was giving people proper distance. So I got to give a shout out to everybody that was safe for everybody else. I also got to give a shout out to Wisconsin Electric and every other power company that was out there. Apparently, there were a ton of people that were without power. This snow was wet, it was heavy, it was taking down trees. If you remember the day after, you saw the aftermath of that. I mean, they were big ass trees that were just down, branches. I mean, huge branches because of the weight of this wet, heavy snow that was coming down. And the winds were pretty strong too. So for these guys to go out there, in these crap conditions and get people's power up as soon as possible, I think, again, shout out to these folks. So went to the Trump rally 2 weeks ago. I think that was April 6th. And I got to tell you, Trump rallies are very interesting. I've never been to one. I've watched them on TV. And somebody asked me, they were like, well, why haven't you gone to a Trump rally before? Well, the answer is real simple for me personally. I hate crowds. I don't like crowds. I don't like concerts. I don't like Summerfest. I mean, if there's more than like 10 people, I'm not there. I just do not like crowds. Maybe it's just a byproduct of me getting older. But this rally was up in Green Bay. It was at the Hilton Regency, I think, the hotel. And it was really, really interesting watching. I was actually supposed to be up on stage, but they didn't have enough seats. Not a big deal. But I was able to get a front row seat, and I got to sit with Jim Pavarchek, Jessica McBride, and Jim's daughter, Jenna, and had great conversation. And it was really cool listening to folks talk. You had Congressman Glenn Grothman, you had you have Republican potential U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde up there. I got to give Hovde credit where credit's due. The man was very animated, very well versed in his talking points. Sounds like he's really coming across strong right now. And then, of course, there was the main attraction, the main event. Donald Trump spoke for almost an hour. It was interesting because I wasn't sure if he was going to stay the entire time or if he was going to try to do like a 20-minute speech. But no, he had a whole hour there. And there really wasn't much of the speech itself that was out of the norm from what you would expect from Donald Trump. He talked about the economy. He talked about the Biden bloodbath at the border, the three Bs. He talked about how America is not being respected on the stage. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was something that I really wish he hadn't have done. He gave an endorsement. And of course, you know what? You give your endorsement, you're free to do that. The problem that I have with the Trump endorsement for when he made the endorsement for Eric Hovde, full unequivocal endorsement, he says. Great. But here's kind of my take on it. There's still two other senatorial candidates out there. There's Rajani Ravindran. I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Probably not. And you have Kyle Corrigan. All three of these people are running for the U.S. Senate for the Republican nod there. And I think this is something that really should be left to the voters of the state of Wisconsin. I think if we look at Trump's record here in the state of Wisconsin for who he backs, it really hasn't worked out too well. As a matter of fact, I think it was the following day, Roger Roth, who's running for the U.S. congressional seat in the 8th district, there was a tweet that went out from President Trump, and he talked about Rhino Roth. I thought, damn, isn't that kind of curious, right? Because wasn't it just 2 years ago that he was backing Tim Michels and Roger Roth as they ran for the Wisconsin governor and lieutenant governor, respectively? How the times have changed. So I don't know. Like I said, everybody's free to do what you're going to do in terms of who you're going to back, what's the horse that you're going to pick. But personally, I would like to see out of state people remain out of state as it relates to Wisconsin elections. This is something I think that we need to deal with in-house, and we don't need people from out of the state that don't understand the political landscape of Wisconsin coming in here and making announcements as if they know what is best for the rest of us here. That's just my thoughts. Now, Lord Owens might have a little different perspective. So let's take a look at the Jim Beast himself, Orlando Owens.
What's going on, brother?
I see you getting your gym on.
Well, I'm trying to do the best I can.
It's International Pump Day. You know that, right?
Is it?
It's always International Pump Day. It's on all days ending in Y. Our goal every day when we wake up is to become the best version of ourselves and to get a pump. That's the goal.
Hey, so I'm hearing that echo. Do you have your?
I hear a little bit of an echo, but I don't have anything on other than what we got here. Let's try something. All right. I'm not hearing anything now.
Test 1 2.
Sounding good.
Some delay.
I wonder if it has something to do with these storms here.
I don't know. I don't have.
Here, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna take the. No, I thought it might be my phone, but it's I took it off Bluetooth. I'm still hearing echoes. Is it coming from your? Do you have two devices running?
I have my laptop and my cell phone, but I hadn't logged in.
Okay.
Thinking,
We'll work with it.
What else can I be?
We'll work with it. It's all good.
I wonder, is it too loud?
That static went up a little bit.
I am delayed. I can hear myself.
Interesting. All right. So, what do you think? Did you get a chance to see the Trump rally? That was.
I didn't watch the whole thing.
I guess you jumped on when I was giving my thoughts about Trump and making his endorsement for while there's still candidates out there. I guess what's your take on that?
Well, I don't know who he endorsed either.
Oh, Eric Hubby.
I mean the other guy.
What's that?
For is it the congressional seats?
Oh, yeah, for the 8th congressional. Yeah, whoever the what was weird. I can't remember the guy's name. He owned a bunch of gas stations, sold it off, and now he's running in the 8th congressional Republican primary.
So the question is, do we support?
Say that one more time.
So the question is, do we support endorsements in primaries?
I don't, unless they're from in-house. I guess I'm more of the mind that let the people of Wisconsin, let the Republicans in Wisconsin pick our own, make our own case, and any outsiders, just keep it to yourself until it's all settled. Then you can, you back the candidate. Because I see too much of this from outside of the state where people come in here, make commentary about people that they really align more with, but they have, for whatever reason, and it must be a Republican trait, where you have to trash your own just to get your horse over the finish line. And in the long run, all it does is create more hate and discontent and havoc within the Republican movement.
Okay.
Here, I'll give you an example. The Michaels rally that happened in Waukesha, right? When Trump came out, blasted Clayfish's husband, blasted her. And did he really know anything about the lobbying efforts of Joe Clayfish, the lobbying for kids with disabilities or anything else like that? No. He was given talking points and he went with it. He called her a Chinese sympathizer. Really? We sell, we have a ton of soybeans. Who's the biggest soybean, consumer in the world? It only makes sense to broker that deal. Does that make you a Chinese sympathizer? That's like saying, you know what? Hey, you got this iPhone and it was built in China. You must be a Chinese sympathizer since you bought it. And I think it's just one of those things. It's better left unsaid.
I think there's some value there. That sometimes what's understood don't have to be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're a little quiet tonight, man.
I don't know. I don't know. I think so. This unity issue
Okay.
is coming up again. And so I'm struggling to respect everybody. respect everybody.
Yeah.
Giving people space, but also being mission driven.
Mm-hmm. Expand on that some more. I got some commentary on that too. So I want to hear your thoughts on that, because I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. You know, we want to try to be cool with everybody, but at the same time, well, don't let me capitalize. Let me let you take the ball and run with it.
I think we can have discussions, disputes, disagreements. I think that Trump definitely brings kind of everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are some unresolved relationships.
Yep.
That a lot of things have been festering, and then there's some and that happens because so I'm torn. I am torn between
Torn how so?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Torn from the standpoint of I respect some deep issues and concerns that have not been addressed. And I also respect the fact that we have a mission in front of us.
Mm.
And can we come together to do what we have to do? I think what also has to happen. Man, the echo is killing me. The delay is killing me.
And it's coming on your end. I'm not sure how, like that one. I'm not sure.
I wonder, is it the room? Is it the room?
No, it's not the room. There's an audio echo.
Remember, we tried this last week, and it did the same thing. Do you want me to come back out and come in again?
No, you're fine. Just carry on with your thought, and we'll just deal with the echo accordingly.
I don't even think it's an echo. It's a delay. Okay. So respecting the differences and disagreements. I think part of it is because our relationship were not strong originally. And with new people, we never took the time to cultivate those. And not cultivating a relationship means there's no bond. So that we can say, yeah, I don't agree with everything. But we do have to, get this job. So that's where I think we can. And it's hard to do it like in the middle of election. We need to find a pathway forward, but also respect the differences. And what I'm also learning, man, there's some real elbows in politics.
Oh yeah.
And they can get real blood sports.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, though, is that a lot of people look at politics as a sport, like akin to WWE, and unfortunately, we seem to be more into the theatrics of it than we are the actual results.
Okay.
Here,
go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. So here on the message of unity, this is the thing that kind of really, really kind of gets under my skin here. Is everybody wants to talk unity? Great. Everybody wants to talk about how RPW is telling people to fall in line. Well, hell, I'm waiting to see somebody tell me from RPW to fall in line because that hasn't happened, and I doubt it ever will. But it's interesting because I do find a lot of these offshoots, new up and coming people, literally tell you to do the same thing. So when we talk about unity, under whose banner are we talking about? Because I think we see so much fighting, in-house fighting in Republican and conservative circles. And half the time, and I'll be the first one to fess up to you with this here, you go back, to I say 3-4 years, I was definitely one of those. Why? Because I didn't have an understanding of how things properly worked. But and my whole thing was, I got the formula. I'll tell you how exactly you do this. No. I had an idea of how it could be done, but I didn't necessarily know if it was even possible that something like that can be done. Moreover, when people are usually going to their little gatherings, their meetings, whatever, they're stuck in their little social bubble, and they don't seem to realize there's a world outside of the 10 or 12 people that they're gathering around. And when you're stuck in that, all you have is an echo chamber. You don't realize that the people outside of that have other issues that are more important. So when you talk about unity, is it talking about the unity that you and your friends put together, or is it unity amongst what you talk to with the regular, average, everyday person who's struggling to make it from paycheck to paycheck? Are you dealing with the person that's dealing with the high cost of inflation, healthcare, daycare, everything else under the sun? Or are you more in line with, say, your own little pet issue? And I'll give you a great example. The abortion topic has reared its ugly head once again. And interestingly enough, it was around President Biden's speech when he talks about abortion, but he brought in vitro fertilization, IVF. Prior to that, who the hell was talking about IVF? Nobody. And it amazes me because, once again, the left has been allowed to control the narrative, control the language, control the issue. So now, as Republicans, we're on the defensive once again, trying to say, hey, we don't have a problem with IVF. And interestingly enough, too, Ron Johnson has talked about this for a few years now, about taking the abortion issue and leaving it up to the people. Donald Trump just recently came out, said essentially the same thing, and that is a states' right issue. Now, there's a lot more minutia that we can get into that, but let's just leave it at a states' right. Let the people decide on that. I was at the 6th Congressional Caucus this past Saturday, and I don't think there are people want to win. I really don't. I think they want to stand on this abortion issue. This is the hill they're willing to die on, even if it costs them election after election after election. As a matter of fact, you and I have talked about this back in 22. We didn't think the abortion issue was going to be as hot a topic as it was, but sure enough, it was. And then, of course, in the Supreme Court race, they brought it back from the dead once again, and they're doing it one more time. There was a guy there in particular, boy, like I said, that was the hill he was going to die on. It's a county chair. I can't remember what one. I want to say it was Zaki. I'm not sure. But the way he was going at it with Ron Johnson was it's actually borderline disrespectful, number one. But Ron Johnson's trying to explain to him he can't impose his will, how he sees things on everybody, being that he represents not just the Republican Party, but the state of Wisconsin. And the people of Wisconsin, for whatever reason, are okay with some level of abortion. Now, I do find it interesting that when it comes to the topic of abortion, most people are against it. They just don't want it outlawed. And if we're not willing to say, you know what, we lost this issue politically, you might have the moral high ground. Absolutely. But if you can't let this go politically, you're never going to win an office, and you will never have influence to pull back at that point. Maybe it's just me.
I don't know about that. I think you have a good point. How do we navigate this? Clearly, the world is not as faithful as it once was. Um, I made a post, I think, a few weeks ago about this, that I struggle with, you know, that my church, and I mean just, the my nation,
Right.
we are facing some of these in the church, If the church is struggling, then am I surprised? That other organizations are struggling? I think sometimes we ask the worldly organizations to be more moral, and that's not
Sure.
you can have a company that is Christian values. It's not how everybody operates, and that's okay. So how do we get the evangelical to understand that this is a process? Every day as a believer, you hope to get stronger and stronger. And I think sometimes we as believers are pressing so hard on faith to be more faithful, and that's going to take time. For the same person who says, well, if Republicans don't allow some form of abortion, and I'm a conservative, then I won't vote for them.
Mm.
It is the same juxtapose that conservatives say that if conservatives allow for any form of abortion, I can't vote for them. Whatever you did is working.
I didn't do anything.
You didn't do nothing?
I didn't do nothing.
Let me shut up before I mess it up, because I don't hear no more.
Well, I think that's a good point that you bring up, and okay, we'll make it go to both ends. So, in both cases, are you not going to vote for the Republican when they were literally that one issue is the one issue you can't rock with, but like everything else is literally voting in your best interest? Or are you going
Right.
to sit that one out, just let the Democrats take 100% of your interests, and now you got nothing? Because what I'm seeing in Republican circles, and we've seen this for the last few years, is conservatives and Republicans trying to see who they can out Republican, who they can out conservative. It's like watching the left to see who can be more radical.
Now, you and I disagree. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I disagree that the abortion issue is as big or as important. I believe that most people who are right of center, the abortion issue isn't as big. And this is my humble opinion now, I don't think the suburban white woman, and let's say that maybe the suburban white man, but mostly the white woman, is not voting Republican because of the abortion issue. I just don't believe it. I think there's too many. If she's truly a conservative and a well-rounded conservative, there's too many other issues besides abortion,
Right.
that she wouldn't go vote for a Republican. I question that. I think a lot of suburban women are closeted liberals, and their husbands just don't know it. It's just
Well,
me.
let's bring that up. Let's bring that up because I think that is a great question, a great segue here. Because one of the things, and I think I've talked to you about this before in the past, I know I've talked to others, as it relates to Waukesha County in particular, it's part of the wild counties, bastion of conservatism, not so much anymore. And people are wondering, damn, what happened? Well, the East Side liberals from back in the day, from the late 90s and early 2000s, they all eventually moved to Tulsa. Then they all went to Waukesha. The demographics have changed, and they brought their crappy voting patterns with them. But I found this article, and I found this to be very interesting because if you take a look at what the Biden campaign has been doing over the last month or two, they've really been pushing this abortion issue, this women's health care nonsense, as it were. They're going around mobilizing Milwaukee and suburban voters on the issue. They're going out here into rural areas, and they're working with multiple counties to do the exact same thing in formerly, I shouldn't say formally, there's still red areas, but I almost feel like the Republican Party takes these, red counties like mine, takes it for granted, just the same as Democrats take the black vote for granted. But the Biden campaign, they're jetting this up here. This is here just from today.
I think so.
Less than 7 months until Election Day, the Biden campaign hosted an event on Milwaukee's North Side Tuesday to mobilize Democrat voters on the abortion issue. I think it's going to take some work, said Delvary Blackwell, Milwaukee resident who attended the event. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I bet they are. Okay, it goes over some other stuff, but yeah, even if it's not as big as you might think, they're sure going to try to make it big.
Well, I think this. How much more can they? I guess this is about turnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much more can you put in the face of, let's just say what it is, Black women supporting abortion? You're trying to. That's the one issue that unifies all women, no matter what class you come from, educational background you come from, social economics you come from. And let's be clear, I'm not going to say what it is. Sex.
Right.
That's the one thing that unified, no matter where we all do it, right? And they are pushing this issue so much that they may not agree on any other thing with the Democratic Party, but they agree on the fact that I should have the option to do this. And I just don't believe, again, suburban women, that's the reason why they're not voting Republican. I think there's some deeper issues there. I think these suburban women are just closeted liberals, and the husbands just don't know it. They're not flamboyant enough to put it in his face.
Mm-hmm.
But they vote liberal. They maybe voted Republican here, some Democrat there. They know enough to know that he'll never know how I voted. How do you think? Let me be clear. How do you think you get liberal school boards in conservative districts?
Mm-hmm.
Because
a part of it is, who's voting, and then of course, many conservatives have acquiesced, the responsibility to run for these offices because we're busy, we're tired, and everything else, so we don't do that. And boy, the left, they will. Nature does not like a vacuum.
Ed, who typically votes in school board races? Women. Women.
See, and I would have said the more politically active people.
I'll give you that, but even through the whole makeup of it, more women vote in school board because the men divert that responsibility to the women. They say, well, it's school. I wouldn't expect nothing that she wouldn't vote for anything than a good person. And you turn out to have these liberals on the school board because they talk about all these, fluffy, having rubber on the playground and people can fall and they can fall on the rubber and not so all this fluffy stuff.
Right.
And they get these liberals in because, again, the nature of a female, typically biologically and also spiritually, is much more of a nurturer. So
Mhm.
they look for anything that will cushion your fall. That's why more women tend to be more liberal, because they feel that their job is to find a way that we all get along. Let's not fuss. Let's not fight. Let's not fall on the hard concrete ground. Let's have some rubber there they can bounce off. That's by her nature. Her nature is different than a man's. That's biblical. So, but when like you said, when we acquiesce from it, and men don't engage in all of it, because let me just cut to the quick of it. When we as men don't honor the position that God had us as men, woman, family, first as God, then we out of order. And we must be men in every aspect of our lives, in our children's lives, in every aspect of it. And that means also voting for school board and not just for the presidency. Because the school board is like, that's a woman's job to educate the child. No, father, you are the first teacher. You are the head of the family. It doesn't mean
Right.
you rule over a woman. You don't mean you put her, shut up, woman, be quiet and stay barefoot. Now, anybody's saying that. No. But there's a biblical order, and there's a biblical responsibilities. And this is where we fall short. So her get back is that she goes to go to the school board and she votes the way she wants to vote. Wants to vote. She should.
Let me give you,
Should.
let me give you some pushback on that for a second.
It
You
just
talked
came
about
back.
a
It just came back.
what's that?
It just came back. Whatever it was. It just came back. The delay just
You were
came
talking
back.
about, but I think there's a lot of people that don't necessarily buy into that biblical order. And when I look at, and I don't disagree with you, but I'm trying to look at it from other people's perspective. And in that, even if you took the religious aspects out of it, throughout history, it was always the man being the head of the household, but the woman ran the household, so she was essentially the neck. So where that neck went, that head went too. But if you look at today, what kind of men do you have out there? You don't have strong leaders. As a matter of fact, most of them couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, much less lead a family. They'd be lucky to lead a pack of starving wolves of fresh meat. So I have to wonder, with, you go back to this third and fourth wave feminism and the emasculation of the American male, there is you know, no man to be leading the home in such a way as, like you said, to not be domineering, but to be provider, protector, to give guidance to the family, and to also listen to the woman, his wife, her consult. And then, of course, yield when someone else is better suited to the task at hand. And then he takes point when he's better suited. But I think you have so many men out there today that they're not leaders at all. It's
Well,
almost like
again, I think this you have to look at it from the standpoint of, again, men not following the biblical order and women not following the biblical order either. Again, I don't think Walker women are just all that conservative like that. I think they are more closeted liberal. They are more left of center than their husbands think they are. And that's what you get. You get this. That's how you get liberal school boards in conservative districts, because people, excuse me, men check out of school board races and they say, "Go ahead and vote." And what they don't know, your wife just voted for a liberal,
right.
because if it made sense to her in her ear. Who do you think voted mostly for the referendum?
Well, and again, I think there's more men on that one.
No.
You don't think so?
No. Yeah, for the black vote, the biggest backbone for liberal Democrat policy is the black woman vote.
Okay, I'm thinking statewide referendum. You're talking MPS.
MPS referendum for education. Who do you
Yeah,
think?
okay.
You think more men
I
voted
was
for that?
thinking
You
state,
think more women voted for it? More women voted for that
right?
because it's the school, it's the kids, it's the school, it's the kids, it's the school, it's the kids.
Mm, it's more money, which is interesting because the kids aren't going to benefit from any of it. Have they ever?
Well, again, anything you say about kids, well, them the kids, them the kids.
And how well has that worked out for MPS? I mean, what? How much is it that they spend per student?
Man, somebody said something that I forget what he said. How much?
I heard a number, and I can't recall where I heard it from. Something like 17,000 per student.
Maybe
I
more
don't know.
referendum.
Right.
1,000 now.
And now I mean, out here you have school districts that are operating with, 2-3 grand per student and beautiful schools and actually literate kids.
Go figure.
It might be because they don't have, a top heavy administration that are making 6 figures each.
And maybe because you have a working class of people that we share the tax burden. And you don't have to hit just a few of us as many. You have more people who are working below the poverty or at poverty than, so as a result of that, you have more people who are paying for who voted for the tax increase, who are not going to pay for it, at least they think in the property taxes. You're going to pay for it in other ways. You'll rent.
Well, I think that's interesting, because the taxes all go up. The referendums they keep adding to, I mean, because that's another tax. And who's going to want to invest or do anything within the city of Milwaukee at this particular point?
Costs too much.
One of the things that often gets talked about and yelled a lot is nobody wants to invest in Milwaukee. Nobody wants to put jobs here. Well, number one, hell, there is not one Quick Trip in the city of Milwaukee. And I'm not speaking for Quick Trip, but if I were Quick Trip, you wouldn't get me to do that either. I mean, the moment something happens that you perceive as, a slight against somebody, your people, whatever, and you're going to riot and tear things down. Now I have to rebuild this. Nah, not doing it. And then just the cost of doing business alone, I'm out. I can't deal with that. Because at that point, I'm either doing a break even or I'm losing money. It's kind of like those fast food restaurants out in California now being forced to pay $20 an hour. Well, I'd be laying people off left and right. You be getting served by like Twinkie or one of them Cylon robots from Battlestar Galactica, something like that. I'd have an R2D2 up in there and just, do you want fries to go with that shake? Wouldn't have a human on site. Oh, yeah.
That's one. Can you hear me?
It's surprising. Yep. You're fine.
That's where it's going.
Yep.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So unity. We can control the narrative. Maybe your mic is
Well, let me ask you this.
Maybe your mic is up too high. I don't know.
No. I'll turn it down a wee bit.
Is my mic up too high? I don't know what I'm doing here.
Story of my life.
Mine too.
But part of the problem too, when it comes to unity, and I think we've seen this for a couple of years going on. At what point do people stop taking pot shots at one another on the right? I saw it at the 6th Congressional. You can open up any social media browser you want any day, and you'll see, people on the right going at each other back and forth. Rhinos, patriots, bears, tigers, leopards, pumas, whatever. Um, does that do anything to help?
I don't know if it does anything to help, but I do know there's a backstory to this. There's a reason why. And to your point,
Oh,
that
there's a backstory to it.
yeah, and I think there's a litmus test to being conservatives. Um, but I think sometimes we may get a little bit distracted from the overall goal. But we definitely need to address um, what's causing the disunity. Are these votes that are people are upset over, um, or behaviors? Um, we need to figure that out. And I think that's the problem. Like, where's the disconnect on why we can't get along, why we can't move forward more in alignment.
Hmm.
That's
Well,
that's
the funny part from my perspective, as I kind of watch it from a distance where I'm at, is I see most of these folks have more in common than they don't. But it's like that little sliver, that little personality quirk, that difference in a conversation is enough to just want to go to war with each other. And I swear, when I watch conservatives and Republicans, and I do differentiate between the two, but when you look at the infighting that we have going on right now, if they turn that outward and fought the left with the same piss and vinegar that they do fighting each other, man, we might actually be able to go toe to toe with the left. But instead, it's almost like this one upsmanship, this game of I'm more conservative than you, I'm more of a Republican than you. And that's why, to me, it's almost comical when someone tries to, clap back at me talking about, oh, you're just a rhino. It's like, dude, I never said I wasn't. That's been my whole thing from day one. You know, I only joined the Republican Party on the behest of others and upon your advice. Because what was it? What was it you told me? And I remember this very well. It is the vehicle that is best suited to get closest to the values that I have. Because Libertarian Party, by and large, doesn't have the ability to win elections statewide. And well, Democrats and me, we really don't got too much in common.
well. Well, I think I'm still in the delay. I think this we fail to understand. Well, I think there's policy issues that people fall down short on, and I think there are issues that are personality driven. We see it with Trump. On policy, he's correct.
Right.
On personality, some don't rock with him. And I think that's the same way we look at a lot of our politicians. Um, they look at votes, and I think more conservative really follow the voting record, and they see how a person votes. That's the problem. Because I think if you were voting solid, people can maybe stomach your behavior a little bit better. And I wouldn't say let it slide, but how are you
Mhm.
voting, right? And I think that's when we get into this whole rhino thing of like, and people look at what's your voting record looking like on big issues. Were you on the right side of the issue, or did you take another position?
Well, how many times do
Also,
you think people take it out of context? And I want to just throw this real quick because we had a few congressmen here vote for that omnibus bill to kick the can down the road. But within that omnibus bill was a renewal of the FISA courts. Well, there was a few Republicans that voted for it, and they're getting slammed for that. Now, if it's the FISA bill alone, I'd have a problem with them voting for it. But they wanted to avert a government shutdown, which I kind of wish they would just shut the damn thing down. But if they're thinking that, you know what, it's going to cause more harm shutting it down in this FISA bill that was inserted in there, that's the lesser of two evils. That's the path that's going to cause the least amount of harm. So I think when people pick apart like that, it's not an honest criticism.
Well, here's I think what has to happen is more people. Let me say it this way: there needs to be more of a communication to the people who are part of your voting block, so they understand how you voted, what's being voted upon. I think you're going to have to do more than your typical places you go to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to go out and be out. You know, some may not understand the nuances of how you know the votes work. But it's your job to break it down.
Right.
The constituents to figure out those. So
Well, and I think in doing that, that's where I think, various county Republican parties need to do more, with having these, congressmen, representatives, assemblymen, state and federal senators, have these meetings, invite them out to their districts and have them actually speak on these issues. And I think one of the things there's a level of incivility that has happened over the last couple of years in particular, where you have, let's say, my state representative, Representative Kevin Peterson. He'll go out and speak somewhere, and there'll be a crowd. I mean, they're not even trying to hear what he's got to say. They're just trying to blast him. And it's gotten so bad that I personally know he won't go to certain county parties just because, well, it's just outright disrespectful. So the civility has to go both ways, and I think everybody has to be open to at least hearing and saying, you know what, I still disagree with you, but at least I can understand your perspective. Be willing to at least be open enough to understand.
Right. Yeah. I want to leave and come back in. Can you resend me?
Yes, of course.
Or you want to take a break right now for 5 minutes?
Oh, I don't have a. I had a commercial.
You do.
I have to look for it.
Okay.
Hold on here. Let me find this here. It's I think it's like a 1 minute commercial.
That's fine. That should be enough. I'm gonna log out of this link and send me another one.
It should be the same one.
Or just resend. I'm gonna X out.
I'll resend it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna take about a 1 minute break here, and I got this awesome video for you guys. Let's see if I can find it here. It's about a minute long, maybe a little less. Yeah. Think about Joe Biden, and the man is just old. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, mean, or anything. It is just simply a matter of fact. The question is that when you have an individual like this at this particular age, and Donald Trump obviously being closer to 80 than he is to 70, I think it was Leslie Jones from the debacle of a Ghostbuster movie that happened a couple of years back. She made the comment, this is what we have to deal with. This is what we're left to work with. Not a fan of Leslie Jones, but I have to agree with her on that point. So I'm going to share this here, and I want you guys to check it out. It's about 30 seconds in length. I think you guys will crack up with this one here. So let's hang tight and let us. Thought I had it. Hang tight. All right, here we go. Here we go.
At White House Senior Living, our residents feel right at home. Our vibrant facility offers delightful activities and outings, round-the-clock professional care, and exquisite house-made meals.
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me, but I've been eating all Italian food, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
White House Senior Living, where residents feel like presidents.
Where residents feel like presidents. Isn't that something? Wow. I saw that video the other day and I had to share that out because, well, it was funny as hell. So, couple articles here. As Orlando and I were talking on this particular issue, I do think the abortion issue is going to be a bigger issue than a lot of us anticipated it's going to be. And I think a lot of that is number one. Let's see, make sure. No, is this the article? No, that's not what I want. We're going to go to a different article. We're going to switch over to this. I think number one, Democrats have been allowed to control the narrative for so long. They're usually first to jump onto it. They're usually the first to weaponize the language. And that's exactly what they've done here. And it's an interesting thought because when you look at, say, for example, the issue of abortion as it stands right now, there's something called the Overton window. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, the Overton window is, imagine if there's a window right in front of you, right? Make yourself a little window. And in this window, that's everything that is politically mainstream. Okay. Very important that we recognize that. So, for example, if we were to look it through the Overton window back into the 80s and 90s on the issue of abortion, the compromise in of itself was safe, legal, and rare. And what does that mean? Well, you didn't want any back alley abortions, people dying of sepsis, anything ridiculous like that. But you wanted abortion to be something that was rare, not birth control. You didn't want something to be, to be an everyday thing and not on demand, but rare. So in the cases of, say, rape, incest, and when the mother's life is in peril. All right. Interestingly enough, in the cases where the mother's life is in danger, those cases are so incredibly rare. So, for example, if a baby dies in utero, well, you want to get the baby out as soon as possible. That's a procedure called the DNC, where they take the baby out of the womb, baby's already gone. Well, it's almost the same process of an abortion, but it's usually done through C-section, if I recall correctly. Procedures may have changed since I was knowledgeable on that, going back here 20 years. But that's a rarity. It's not something that happens all the time. Now, it is true that the vast majority of abortions are usually done with the day after pill. Fine. But as we look at where the Overton window continues to shift more and more, the left has taken that window and they have just jerked the hell out of that thing and moved it further to the left. So now we're at the point now where it's abortion on demand. It's abortion on demand up to 9 months. It's abortion on demand up into, and you guys remember the articles, you guys have seen it, where they were talking about having an abortion after a child was born. This is not me being hyperbolic. This is not me making things up. It is out there. It is in reputable news sources. All you got to do is Google it. You will find it. So over the past few years, Republicans are really taking the hard stand. We're going to defend life, that, you want no abortion here in Wisconsin, the 1846 law that would restrict abortions altogether. Well, you know what? I think, and I've said this before, we've now gotten to the point where, again, the left dictate things, and now we're forced to kind of move further to the left as well. So now Ron Johnson, Donald Trump has even kind of moved in that direction to the extent that, you know what? Let's let the people decide. Let it go to a referendum. And I've told you guys this before, and I'm very consistent about it. Hey, Christine, how are you? I have to look into that. John, how you doing tonight? Good to see you here, sir. I've been very consistent about this, and the more that I hear about this abortion issue, I'm at the point now where it's like, you know what, just let it happen. Just let people have abortion as long as they want. Now, don't get me wrong, abortion is murder. It is terrible. And these are innocent lives that did nothing wrong. But there's a twofold thing here going on, and I'm going to elaborate on both of them. First and foremost, if the people that don't want to have abortions, they're not going to have them. It's just that simple. You can make abortion legal up until whenever. And the people that do not want to have abortions will not have them. It's that simple. But the ones that want to have them, they're going to have them. They're going to have them in the next 5 years. They'll probably have at least 10 to 20. And by the time that they're out of their whole phase, by the time that they have gotten to the point where, you know what, they're tired of just raw dogging it with every Chad that they've ever encountered. They're tired of going and having these procedures done, getting all these pills and whatnot. Now they want to settle down. Now they want to have a family. But you know what? Doctor comes in with some bad news. It's like, I'm sorry, but your system's all messed up. Well, what could cause that? Well, the overusage of these pills and all these abortions. Yeah, when you're 35, you want to have some kids, you want to settle down, you're done being a 304, and you're upset now because you can't have a baby. That's on you. That is all your liberal tendencies and all your freak league stuff going out there. You out there raw dogging life. And you know what? All that fun times, there is a price to pay for it eventually. So what does that mean in the long term? Well, it means that this is a war of attrition. And as terrible as it is to say, some lives are going to be lost. But in the long run, the future becomes conservative because it is liberals that are killing off their own. And I realize that is harsh. And for some people, that might be a very, very terrible thing to say. But I'll say it. And I'll say it because at the end of the day, conservatives and people right-leaning of strong moral character, they're not having abortions. They're not now. They weren't before. And they probably won't in the future. But the left, boy, they sure will. And they will continue to do so. And like I said, once you hit that wall and you can't have a kid, then you're wondering why you're 35, 40, single, and you got a bunch of damn cats in your house. Number two, there's an interesting conversation and thought process around the idea of government, what you can and cannot do with your body. So what do I mean by this? If you look at government saying, you know what, you're pregnant, no abortions. It's against the law. Can't do it. It would be the same if you were to flip it around, just as to say, you know what, you're pregnant, abortion. It is government telling you what to do. It is a very slippery slope that we have to be very mindful of. And let me throw this one. Because the government can dictate to a woman what she can do with her body, then government can dictate what type of vaccine or chemical can be put into yours, man or woman. We have to be very aware of the unintended consequences that comes along with state-sponsored telling people what they can and cannot do with their own bodies. And don't get me wrong, I'm not an abortion advocate, but I don't like government telling me what I can and cannot do with my own body. Now, I know you could make the argument, well, suicide's illegal. Yes, I get it. But if you're good at your job, you don't have to worry about the legalities. Orlando, you're back up here.
Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better?
I can hear you, sir. You sound, you're still there.
I don't know. You gonna make it through? I don't know. You gonna make it through?
Yeah, we're gonna make it through. We'll close it out here soon. I wanted to get to this here. I was talking about the Overton window earlier. about just how things keep moving further and further left. And in the past, what was the mantra back in the 80s and 90s? And he talked about abortion, safe, legal, and rare. And this article here that we have where, and let me find it here up top here in the tabs. So he taught this article here, and this is from Semaphore. Trump gave MAGA Republicans permission to move left on abortion. Is it moving left, or is it going back to the more centrist idea of what abortion was back in the 80s and 90s, i.e. safe, legal, and rare?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because if you think about it, right, the left have lost their damn mind talking about abortion up to 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, 15, and Republicans kind of went to the other side where it's like, all life is sacred. And it is. But I always likened the idea of abortion to the nuclear bomb. Like, we've already split the atom. The genie's out of the bottle, and it's not going back in. So how do you live with something that's morally abhorrent?
You do the best you can to fight it back and to fight it back. I think
It'd be nice if we had things like social shaming. Like, there's a stigma attached to that. You know what I mean?
Well, Mike is strong. I can
Say that
By the
again.
way, I said your mic is my son. By the way, everybody.
Oh, yeah, I
he's
heard.
gonna be like 2 weeks.
Birthday boy coming up.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Next week he'll be 3 next week. All right, next week he'll be 3 next week. Well, again, I think this, man. We had a discussion. On what I think the issue really is. I don't know if it's that big. But what I will say that there are strategies in place right now. That we do, including myself, to look for more Republicans who could vote, who just may not vote.
Yeah.
The boys in the back of the woods, affectionately I call them.
Well, you know what? That's a great point, because when we were at our 6th congressional, somebody had stood up and asked Ron Johnson that very, I don't want to say that very question, but an offshoot of that. She talked about the fact that there were, over 200, and the number she used is 200,000 sportsmen that didn't vote. Now, whether that number is 200,000 or 500,000, it doesn't matter, because that is more than the margin of victory for any statewide office in the last 20 years. So that's the question out there. Sportsmen that are pro 2A, they are patriotic. And I personally think those people are just like, you know what, F it, I'm just going to be off grid. I'm tired of dealing with this. My vote doesn't matter. And I don't think the messaging hasn't got out to them that, yes, your vote does matter. 21,000, just a bit over that, made the election. Regardless of what you think, how it happened, let's just say everything on the up and up. But a little more than 21,000 made the difference. And if even just 25% of that 200,000 had came out, we'd be having a different conversation today.
That's why this conversation on abortion and swing voters and you have people already who think like you. You just need to be motivated. Trump motivated them.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you because I don't know if Brian Shimmy was talking about me. Who, I don't know, but I can tell you this. Ed, you saw it firsthand. video clips and pictures.
Sure.
There's a forgotten man out there and woman. There's a forgotten man out there and woman that is motivated. I wish I could show you my clip. You might be able to bring up my clip that I did the interview. What the strategies are. What strategies are.
Is that the one from Reuters?
Correct.
Let me see here. Let's see here.
Because I think, or if you go right to the video, it's from Reuters. You can look at, we can pick it apart from people who interviewed at G's Clippers. I think one of the best campaigns you can have is when people arrive at their own conclusions about themselves. I think there's so many strategies that conservatives can be approaching. Like our strategy in Milwaukee is the same. I guess everywhere, and it's the same whatever, right? One track in Milwaukee County is to make sure that every conservative goes out and vote. Because I understand that they are being disheartened.
Right.
Because we don't win anything. This is also another messaging concern. Not even messaging, but education that we didn't give the people. That if you want to see impacts in Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, we need to win the governorcy, and also the White House. We're not going to win mayor. We're not going to win county executive. But we win those statewide elections, and those national elections, then those positions Milwaukee and Milwaukee County.
What do you think is the problem with the messaging?
About that particular piece I just said?
Well, if you look at, the messaging, in Milwaukee, from the Republican side of things, or even right of center, I mean, you don't even have to go full Republican. I'm of the opinion that just in general, Republicans are just horrible storytellers. Our messaging is, I'm going to give you facts. I'm going to overwhelm you with facts, but I'm not, and I'm expecting you to kind of be in my worldview, in my frame. And I think that's where we kind of mess up. It's like, I got to lead you in with some candy here. I have to tell you a story. I got to get that emotional hook in you so that I can tell you a story that has facts. And then when we leave, I got to make you feel good because people remember how you make them feel. So when you feel good, like after you have a conversation with me and you feel good, you're going to remember me. And you'll remember me for a positive. And I just don't see, and I don't think I ever have outside of Scott Walker when he was the county executive. But I just don't see the messaging. I don't see the storytelling. I see it's like listening to a numbers guy spit numbers all day long. And unless you have an understanding of, say, the stock market, you're not going to understand. It's just right over your head.
Bitcoin.
Right. Hey, at least I ain't like dropping down, Fibonacci retracement levels or anything else like that. I ain't talking Bollinger Bands, but I am telling you this Friday, the Bitcoin halving is going to happen. And pay attention, people, not financial advice. Do your own research.
I need some of it.
You and me both.
So I think the messaging is this. We have to make sure that every is motivated and activated. I may have to post that. Motivated and activated.
Motivated and activated. Put that on a shirt.
Yeah, makes it, man. I may have to maybe makes it, man. I may have to maybe motivated and activated. Because I don't think we've always strategy to people that we're going to lose county, Milwaukee, and Milwaukee, city Milwaukee. But if we go out and we do what best we help can come. From the governor's seat, from the president's seat,
Mm-hmm.
from the attorney general seat, and so we need to be focused on those. Supreme Court race. That we notice Sherry Abrams not running. She stepped down.
Yeah, and so Brad Schimmel is going to be running there, and we're looking at February, a spring election in 25. Had a chance to listen to him this past Saturday, and I will be working to have him on the show.
Well, someone said there was an echo.
Say again.
That might be on your end, Ed.
Oh, Christine said there was an echo in the video, and there might be, but I'm trying to figure out where the echo was coming from when you're the delay on that end, because again, I can't control anything on your side, but
like, so your phone is not on, so you're not.
Oh, my phone is on, but I don't have anything streaming or anything next to it. It's just sitting there.
I mean, on for the standpoint, you're not your phone as well.
No, nothing like that.
Huh.
We'll work on it. This is a work in progress, people. Just bear with us.
Let me ask you about 6 months. 7 months when the election's over.
Right. And we're going to carry on after that. So it is what it is. So let me ask you this here.
So I was on this. I'll go back to strategy. We never told people that their voice is important for the overall count. So that's one track we have to go to encourage identifiable Republicans. Now, there's also a track for upset.
Yeah.
How do you find them? Now, this is where your consumer data comes. A lot of people are taking idea that you and I, Ed, that I expressed years ago.
And we talked about that years ago. Yeah.
That we use in consumer data. We be able to identify people. I'm not sure on a voter roll, but your profile lines up with mine.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, everybody knows conservatives buy differently than liberals do.
Exactly.
It's fact.
We visit different websites.
Yep. And all that metadata is out there for purchase.
It is. And so I was about using different data services. Mm-hmm. Because it's a guy who ran in 2022, who maybe run in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Putting out surveys just saying.
Survey says
statewide run.
They keep me up till 1, 2 o'clock again. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't have a bedtime.
Exactly.
Gonna have a bedtime.
Exactly. So what I saw in 2022, then it was called the patriot groups. Patriot groups.
Right.
I think today we call them MAGA. MAGA.
Do they have a name? I mean, not trying to be disrespectful. I don't. They're nowhere as prominent as they were in 22.
Well, let me better clarify.
Yeah.
I think there were groups formed. They were called these patriot groups. And I one day, because I can't.
I know. So it'd be
I got to give all this data and all this information. Eyewitness reporting.
Yeah.
There are a group of people who vote. Traditional Republican. That's your Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis, your county,
yeah,
your Elks Club. They're your traditional voting block. Then you have raw rides to a group of people that came together to form this patriot group. Who wanted to be active, and they formed these communities.
sure.
But the biggest group in those red districts were the non-affiliated to the Patriot movement, or the GOP.
Mhm.
Those are the voters that we go after and motivate.
Right.
They were the Trump voters. The guys at NASCAR. In our case in Wisconsin, we say Sling.
Oh, you got Slinger and Milwaukee Mile. Right.
We would say, like the young ladies called the sportsmen, the hunters. We had the snowmobilers. We've had, in my humble, the Bar Olympics. The year that we had our state convention in 2020, there was a convention.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Was it 21?
The point I'm saying is this: sometimes we were in. Was it? I'm trying to think. The Dales.
All right, so that had to be 21.
Okay.
That was 21 because I was going to go. It was at the Kalahari. I was going to go, but I missed out on getting tickets, and I was like, because I'd never been to a convention. Now I only know this because my first convention was in 2022 in Middleton, Wisconsin.
So during the same time we were having our state just down the road, they were having a dart.
Yeah.
Our voters.
Well, I don't think people realize too, when those leagues like that, the darts, the bowling, the pool, the tavern, that is more right of center. And it's interesting. I think when you go into the city, like, Milwaukee, Madison, that's definitely more liberal in terms of the bar culture. But when you come out to these rural areas, you get you still get the color hair, tattooed freaks and stuff. And I say tattoo freaks with nothing but affection because, brother like me, I got my ink. But they're more conservative. And if you look at the policies and everything that, in particular, the Tavern League of Wisconsin advocate for, what is it? It's more free market. It's more, more for the smaller entrepreneur, because the vast majority of businesses here in the state of Wisconsin and nationwide for that matter, but focusing on Wisconsin, is small businesses like that corner bar you go to, like, that little restaurant that you really like, the supper club that's owned for the last 20 years by the same family. They're looking to vote, in their best interest, so that way they can continue to provide you the services that you've come to enjoy for the last 2 decades.
See, Ed, now we're talking strategy. I view myself
And this
as
is, I think, it's long overdue. Oh, say that again.
I view myself as a strategist.
Right. Looking at the long game.
So from that group, or those groups, this is where the upside is. So now you use data to find and add them to your door knocking. Your direct mailers. You go where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycle groups.
Sure.
Flat track. Cross country track. I went to the track right here in up the road from Milwaukee. It's called Aztec. It was the first time I saw motocross.
Really?
And them
Not
good old
familiar with
boys,
that. Okay. Sure.
it was like they rocking with me. These are the voters. While we're so wrapped up and consumed, can we get the white Republican conservative out of Waukesha? We got some boys right up the road throwing darts and throwing bag up the road that need to be motivated. They already think like you. They gotta get up and do something. You got some boys tuning up leaders right now.
I think there also needs to be a shift in culture too. We need to embrace and it's funny because I remember Charlie Sykes wrote a book on this topic. Others did, where they talked about a war on masculinity. And I think this is something as a Republican Party we really need to focus on. That it is okay to be a young man. It's okay to be aggressive. It's okay for you to be a monster, but to be a man, you have to control that monster. It is the philosophies of old that have been personified as of late by individuals like Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, the Tate brothers. And and I'm probably going to get some shit for that, Andrew Tate and Tristan. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But is what they're saying wrong? The Justin Weilers, where they talk about, what you need to be able to avoid every conflict you have to. But when you're cornered, what do? You protect your family at all costs. We need to refocus. Again, this is more family oriented. And if you think about the people that you're talking about, we live that every day. There's no feminization of the male. No. Man is a man is a man. Oh, shit. Where's Mo? What up, dog? How you living? Got nothing but love for Mo. I gotta be careful when I'm on with Mo because he gets tripping.
So if we use this strategy, so I talked to a few turkey people. And I said the strategy, I'm not doing a table for everybody to see in the common area.
Sure.
I'm going to do tables in targeted in their buildings. So in the engineering department.
Yep.
I have a table in the mathematics, business, because those are people line up the way we think,
Right.
and an area that has not been really sought after at all. Tech schools.
Yep. And that's your blue collar cats right there.
Brother
Mo asked the
Andrew,
question: Is
Brother
Trump going
Andrew,
to jail? Let me answer that question. So the judge in his case told him that he couldn't go to his son's graduation. Told him he couldn't go to hear the oral arguments at the Supreme Court. That if he did, he'd go to jail. Number one, I would like to know if Secret Service would even allow that to happen. If he does go to jail, I would think that's a constitutional crisis. And I really hope Trump does go to jail. I really do. And let me tell you why. You can't buy that kind of press. You cannot buy that kind of fundraising. If he even spent one day in jail, do you think he goes in there without Secret Service protection? That would be wild. Now, if he does go to jail, then, well, America as we know it is a banana republic, and all of what we're doing is for naught. Because, well, it's pretty much game over at this point. Start investing in BRICS dollars, and it is what it is. That escalated quickly.
I don't know if he goes to jail. But I think you're right about. This will make him further. A martyr.
Yep.
And
Now
that's
he
one of
goes
the
to jail. I'll donate to him.
What'd you say?
And I don't if he goes to jail, I will donate to a Trump, to a Trump one of their little donate to Trump if you like XYZ. Fine. You go to jail, I'll donate. And I don't donate to anybody. I don't donate to parties. I rarely donate to candidates. I advocate for them, but I don't donate. Like you get my time. My time is more valuable than my money. But no, I'll throw some dollars his way for that. 100%.
That they do. Well, I'll say this. This is a situation in which Trump will capitalize on. I would.
Say it again.
I mean, he's going to capitalize on this. By saying trying to make money, but I mean from the standpoint of.
Oh, he's going to make a ton of money on that. I mean, Dude sold sneakers. He sold Bibles. You think he's not going to sell his mugshot? I would. Do it in a second.
Did you see the crowd at the courthouse?
I did not.
Man, it chanted.
I did not.
We love Trump. Like.
Well, did you see what happened in the courthouse? And this was, I'm going to say,
They fell asleep.
Well, yeah, that too. I'd fall asleep. But apparently they had like 90 some potential jurors. And like 10 o'clock or so, they had already dismissed like 50 of them. Do you really think he's going to get a fair shake in trial? He needs this. He needs to just not show up anymore. It's like, I do not recognize your authority in a story.
Lock me up. Lock me up.
Right. You want to come get me? Send your bounty hunters, send your bail bondsmen, send your skip tracers, whatever you need to do. And here's something, and I was talking about this before, and there's a Republican mantra that's out there about back in the blue. And I said this, God, this was, I want to say 2018, 19. And I had a friend of mine who, really good friend, he didn't like what I had to say. And I'm like, no, I'm not back in the blue. What are you talking about? He's like, well, that's just terrible because, they're there to protect you. Some of them are. But if you can explain to me why there are cops that allow, was it de Blasio to go ahead and put Black Lives Matter on the street and protect it and arrest people? The cops that arrest innocent people. Do you remember in Milwaukee when they had the riots down there? There was that guy who brandished a shotgun to protect himself when the mob was all around his house. And he got arrested, even though he was legally allowed to have, to have the firearm. Why? It was easier to deal with the rioters. Why am I going to back a group of cops that are corrupt that, where are the good cops to stave those off? I honestly think most of the good cops have either retired or been forced out, or just say, you know what, screw it, I'm done. It's kind of like the teacher shortage. Where did all the good teachers go? They got out. Why? Because they don't want to push the, the nonsense, the DEI and everything else that's out there. This is going to be a wild election cycle.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
So let's end this here.
So,
go ahead.
No. I was about to go to another topic.
Go ahead.
But no. So we look at. We talked about unity, and I think unity is going to around the idea of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going to bring people together. I think you will have internal fights out of districts, because every district is up right now. We have Milwaukee candidate. So if you're a candidate, these are out to me. We have a representative was approached tonight looking for candidates. So I think Trump is going to be different than the local races. So when we talk about unity, I think those who may not like Trump, you're not going to get them unified. But as far as those who support Trump, they have a problem with their local representative. That's going to be settled in the primary or the general. So my concern is. I'm sorry.
Let me just throw this real quick.
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing I don't get. If you don't like Trump, as a person, I probably couldn't. I couldn't hang with him. Or if I did hang with him, I'd be cussing all the time and like talking mad trash to him directly, and to the point we can't tolerate each other, or maybe we become better friends. I don't know. His personality is not just something. It's just not something I rock with. But I'm not hiring a best friend. I need results. I don't need to like you in order to get the most out of you. If you're telling me you're advocating for my money, for my family, for my friends, for my community, have at it. Primaries are over. You're the guy.
Again, say this. Local fights have nothing to do. Or Eric Covey.
Yeah.
So on some levels, I'm saying, have that local fight. Cool. Just make sure y'all come together for Supreme Court Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
So have it. You want to over even the congressional seat, with Roger Roth,
Roger Roth, Andre Jacques, and I gotta look this guy's name up.
right? Have that,
Bad.
right? Have that. The young lady who's want to run for who's running U.S. Senate. You met her. Senate. You met her.
Rajani, yes, absolutely wonderful person.
Have it. Have it. Let's come together. Let's come together. Because local fights.
Tony Wide, that's his name. W-I-E-D.
What's his name? What's his name?
Tony Wide, W-I.
So I'm not against local fights. I'm not against local fights. As long as we understand there's a bigger fight. As long as we understand there's a bigger fight.
Well,
That's
and
all.
that's the problem. I don't think we understood that
That's
in
all.
2022 because if you look at the 22 election, that was ours to lose, and we lost it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
It didn't help that Michaels wasn't a good candidate. That didn't help at all. It's kind of like, Mandela Barnes talking, it's ours to lose. You were a bad candidate. But really, if you think about what happened in 2020, the summer of love, when you look at the shutdown, when you look at all the fighting that happened with the Supreme Court back and forth, with the mask mandates and everything else, we should have won in 22. Hands down.
I think there was a disconnect again.
Mm-hmm.
Of maximizing that vote. So in Milwaukee, our strategy is going to be. We're going to be targeting, wards. Wards in which challengers did fairly well. Against incumbents. David King, who just ran. We're going to look at the wards in which he did very well.
Which
He got 20,000 votes.
Right.
Trump only lost and won.
Right around that 20,000 marker.
So your man, Ian said,
Ian, are you hearing the echo from me or on Orlando's end? Because I have to wonder. I don't know, because you have speakers that you're listening from, and then you got a mic that you're on. So I got to wonder if that delay, that feedback, is coming through the speakers and then going back to your mic.
the mic on my keyboard.
Yeah. Nope, not hearing you. Now I hear you, and then there's like background static noise. We're gonna have to work on this. Like I said, this is a work in progress here. All right, so I want to close this out here, but before we close this out, I want to ask you, what do you think is the top 3 election issues going into the 24 election cycle here? Because Democrats are trying to make the abortion issue number 1. They're going to push that until they can't push no more. But I think there's probably at least 3 that are above that to the average person. Kitchen table issues. What are those 3?
border, economy, economy, sorry, sorry.
It's all good. Oh, you're silenced now.
The third, I would say immigration. The third, I would say immigration. That's border. That's border.
Yeah. We're going to get this right. It's going to happen. I would have to agree with you. And I was saying this sort of, I say it's the economy number one, and I've said this for years that if our money, our economy isn't on point, then we don't have a weapon. The economy is your sword. It's your sword and your shield. Without it, you can't defend, you can't produce, you can't do anything. Next, of course, is going to be the border with the overrunning of it. Did you know in Boston they're clearing out a veterans home just so they can house illegal immigrants, criminal aliens? Yeah, can't make that up. And I think number three is more of a local issue, but it's the elimination of DEI, getting rid of this diversity, equity, inclusion BS. And we can thank, groups like Moms for Liberty and other people running for school boards that are they're working tirelessly to get rid of this nonsense. And I think there is a potential close fourth because Europe has given up on this and is getting rid of, trying to transition children. Because when you transition children, boy, they stopped doing it in Europe. Why? Because they realized that it's actually led to more harm than any potential good it could do. And again, that might be more a local issue, but you know what? All politics is local. All right, brother, we're going to close it out here. Man, this is a rough episode. And it was rough because you know what? Technical issues. You know what it is? We got to get you an actual mic and a headset. That's what you got to do. Because if you get a USB mic, I'll send you a recommendation. And then you get a headset, then you won't have the feedback. And I think it's a feedback issue over there. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So we'll follow up on that. So we got the website down there for Orlando Owens. You want to give you a pitch?
Donate.
He said donate.
We're doing some initiatives here in the city. And we're trying to hire staff. To do door knocking, lid dropping, social media influencers.
All right. That's Orlando Owens. Thank you for joining in here tonight. Man, it's a great conversation as always. But like I said, I want to round this out here by telling you guys this. I'd like to tell you that we need to stop the infighting, but that kind of goes without saying. The problem is that when we have small differences amongst us, for whatever reason, personality, ego, you feel perceived slight, whatever, you have to be adult enough to realize that you have more in common than you don't. And if you guys can't, if you can't if you can't say anything good about each other, use that old advice, say nothing at all. Because at the end of the day, when you have more in common than you don't, you have an ally. But if you're going to just sit there and, well, go at it like if you're back in the schoolyard, then really all you're doing is turning people away. People that may be independent, people that may be looking to want to join the Republican Party, people that may be wanting to join a particular group, organization, or affiliate with you. Because at the end of the day, are you more important than saving the country? Is your ego more important than the future of America for your children, for my children that are to come, for the promise of America? I would say no. I think there are some people that don't realize that yet. So it's a bit of a gut check. Take it for what it is. On that note, guys, I'm going to check out here this Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will have Purnima Nath. She's going to be running for the Republican primary for the 4th congressional seat here in Wisconsin. So we'll be having a conversation with her. We'll run about an hour. And then next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will see you there. Go out there, become the best version of yourselves you can be. Check with you later. I'm out.